I'm going to make plum jam. I've got 2.25 kilos of plums, Victoria plums, 3 bags, which is 3 kilos of sugar. I've got 10 jars ready. I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to wash the plums, they've been washed now, cut them in half, take the stone out, and then cut them into quarters, or if they're big plums, slightly smaller pieces. Put them all together in the pan. You've got to have a really large pan, because by the time you add the sugar and you bring it to the boil, it's going to be nearly to the top of this pan. So if you haven't got a very large pan, then do a smaller quantity of jam. And just cut them into pieces. And then I'm going to add to that, 2.25 kilos, I'm going to add 284 millilitres of ordinary cold water. And now I'm going to put them on to cook on a gentle heat for about 15 minutes. So there's the uncooked plums. We'll put the lid on, put them on to cook for 15 minutes, and then I'll show you what they look like. The plums have now been cooking for 15 minutes, and you can see they're cooked. Bring them to the thing. And we're adding 3 kilos of sugar, which is 3 bags. And the last one. And it's got to stir it. Put it on back on a low heat. Just give it a stir while it's here. Right, it's more or less mixed in, and now I'm going to put it on a low heat till the sugar dissolves. Just keep stirring it. You'll be able to tell when the sugar dissolves. Right, the sugar, I can feel that there's no grating of sugar when I'm stirring with the spoon, and you can see by looking at it that there's no obvious graining of sugar in the mixture, so that's dissolved. You can turn it up to full for the time being to bring it up to a full rolling boil. While we're waiting for that to come up to the full boil, I've got about 10 jars, clean jars. I find it handy to put them in a roasting tray, then you can handle them all together. I put the oven on low. I'm going to put those into the oven so that when the jam's ready, there'll be nice hot jars, and I can tip the jam straight into them, and then they'll be sterile. You can see now it's beginning to boil, so turn it up to full to get it to come up to a full rolling boil. You must stay with it all the time now and stir it now and again. You can see it's rising up in the pan. That's a full rolling boil now. So I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. And just stir occasionally. It will come higher up the pan, and you need to stay with it. And if it gets dangerously close to the top, just lower the heat slightly and then turn it up again. Right, that's the timer. It's had 2 minutes. I'm just going to give it a little bit more. Good stir round. Turn the heat off. In my jug I've got some apple pectin, which I'm now going to stir in. It means you don't have to cook the jam for as long, and your jam therefore has a really nice fresh fruit taste. I'm also going to put a tiny little bit of butter, which helps this that we call the scummy bit just to disperse. Stir that in, give it a good stir. Right, I'm going to leave it now for 10 minutes until I bottle it, so that the fruit will be even in the jam, rather than if you bottle it very straight from the pan, the fruit tends to go to the top. So I've given that a good stir now. The heat's off, so I'm just going to leave it now for 10 minutes. Right, 10 minutes is up now, so I'm going to carefully get the hot jars out of the oven. This is why it's handy to have them in a roasting tray, then you can get the whole lot out together. I'm then going to bring the jam from the cooker. Give it one last stir. You can see now the scum's gone and it's looking jam-like and smelling delicious. Right, put that out of the way. I'm going to use my funnel, which just fits nicely into the jar. Get it to touch the edge of your pan and then there's no gap. Fill up your jug and just get the jars nicely full. Okay. I'll just do 2 or 3, then you can see. Right, I've done one giant jar that I use when I'm making sandwich cakes and things. That's done. Now, when you're putting the lids on the jars, the jars are going to be very hot. So I find best thing to do is to put my rubber gloves on, and then I can happily grip the jar and make sure I give it a firm twist on with the lid. You must put the lids on while the jam in the jar is still very hot. That's how you get your seal and you make them sterile so that it will keep nicely. Right, I've checked all those and gone around them again to make sure that the lids are really firmly on. So there's about 10 pounds of jam, because I'm not sure exactly how much is in that one. So we've made about the 10 pounds of jam. I'm going to leave that on its own now till it goes completely cold, and tomorrow we'll have a look at it and it should be nicely set. Here we are the next morning, and if you just lift the jam up and just tilt it and give it a gentle shake, you can see that it's set. So that's ready now make sure you label it and date it, and then put it into a cupboard, and it will keep for quite a while. But if you open it, you must keep it in the fridge. And you've got 9-10 jars of lovely jam.